Hello everyone, it's been 3 months since we last covered a mixtape. So today I thought, you know what, let's do it again. Today we'll be covering something called rngore, 3.5 hour mixtape that isn't just filled with porn and gore, fortunately. There's not much I can say about this mixtape before we begin. So we're just gonna get straight into it. So, we start off with a penis on screen. In this penis are 2 average sized worms, and he's basically inserting these worms into his penis. And this clip goes on for just over 5 minutes. Next up, you've got some balls trapped in a device of some sort, and these balls are being squeezed to the very inch of their lives. And somebody basically lubes up his balls with like a wet wipe or something like that. Now, I hate to say it, but I've seen needles being inserted into balls before, but this one isn't a gentle needle insertion. The person behind the camera literally inserts the needles extremely forcefully into the man's bloated ballsack. Next up, you've got a guy with a steak knife in his pee hole, and he's basically shoving that thing in and out. He takes it out, and surprisingly there isn't as much blood as I thought there was going to be. You've got cockroach reaches cock number 3 next. Apparently there's more than one of these videos. Yeah, it's basically cockroaches on somebody's genitals in a jar. You then have what looks like a punishment in Africa. It's basically a man who is tied up by his arms. His armpits are basically resting on a stick that is tied up between 2 trees. Now there's a guy behind him who's basically pulling a rope in which he's rocking back and forth, and I can only imagine that the force of the man pulling is wasting away his skin with every single swing. So we're in an Asian market next, and the next few clips are basically just your average street fights. And it does of course switch from people having fair fist fights to somebody who is in the middle of a crowd being whipped and tortured, sat in the middle of this crowd. The next video pops up, and this video starts to look very familiar, as it has the very infamous white tiling that we know from 2 very infamous gore videos. Now, not much happens in this video, and I'm not even sure it's related to the other 2 videos that we've talked about on this channel before, Funky Town and Cartel Football, of course, being the 2. But in this video, there's just a load of blood on the floor, and a guy in the centre of this room being held down, and he's basically moaning. Now, a few war videos also make an appearance. This is low quality footage that has definitely been scaled down in quality, along with some creepy music and sounds in the background. I soon realised that it was a very slowed down and distorted version of Zombie by the Cranberries. Animals getting revenge we also see. You see crocodiles going for people, a whole ass shark pulling a whole ass woman into the water with undeniable strength, an elephant on a rampage, all on a rampage, an elephant who only wants to borrow a bicycle, 3 guys getting bitten and attacked by a cheetah, lions, tigers, a chimp, bison, because, you know, Canada, and also a couple of horses, and also this, like, what the fuck, this guy is huge. Yeah, there's plenty of animals in this segment. It's almost like that mixtape that we covered, in which the whole mixtape was basically just animals getting revenge. It was called like Real Fake Animal Mixtape or something like that. And that was actually a pretty good mixtape. There was quite literally nothing gory in it apart from maybe 2 clips, and this segment of this particular mixtape was pretty much the same but with different clips, including animals that aren't usually that violent, like sheep. So you move on from all of this animal stuff, and a woman dressed in black then shows up, and she's basically doing the striptease on camera, licking her finger, playing with her boobies, the works basically. There's absolutely nothing out of the ordinary. She then decides to grab a wine glass, in which she decides to urinate in the glass. She then takes a nice little sippy sip of the piss. She then of course moves on to her main course, in which she places a plate on a table in front of her, in which she does of course proceed to defecate a large, sloppy mess onto this plate. And for some reason she then decides to put a little bit of garnish on top of it, like it's a 5-star Michelin meal. She sits in front of her 2 items, the wine glass and the plate, and gives it a sniff, like it's a KFC bucket. For 10 whole minutes, you are subdued to watching this woman eat and drink her own shit and piss. Japanese stuff. Honestly, this clip showed up and it was a lot louder in volume than I first anticipated. So basically you've got these 2 Japanese ladies with a tube in between them both. Now the lady on top is basically vomiting into the tube onto the lady below her. You know, straight into the tube and straight into the mouth of the woman lying on the floor. Firecrackers up the arse. Yeah, so this guy basically shoves a whole firecracker up his bum. He detonates it, and to no surprise, his anus is completely ruined. It's a bit like One Man, One Jar, if One Man, One Jar was a video based around the 4th of July. Of course, he then fishes all of the pieces of glass out of his now crater-looking arsehole. And as if one firecracker wasn't enough, he goes for a round 2, inserting a secondary firecracker into his already destroyed arsehole. The next clip has this title, which I won't say for obvious reasons. It leads us into primarily sniper footage, not from the side of the US or the UK, but from the side of ISIS. They're taking out what I can only presume are American or British soldiers. Big red penis comes onto the screen, and we see a guy wielding a pocket knife. He starts to just stab into his penis, making small holes into his penis, in which obviously a puddle of blood soon starts to build up. He then begins to masturbate with his reddened, bloody member. There's more Japanese stuff, except this one includes bugs. It's like a book a trial from I'm a Celebrity, if it was Japanese pornography. So this lady is basically covered from head to toe in mealworms and cockroaches. She is, of course, screaming her head off. And somebody actually goes as far as to pour a large amount of mealworms into her anus.